Welcome back again to Joe Stunner Boxing. My apologies for my condition. I have a very bad cold. We're nearly in June and I'm all wrapped up like it's bloody November. But these things are sent to try us. But we've got plenty of boxing to look forward to. And this coming Saturday is the 5 versus 5 Matchroom versus Queensberry card, which I think we've all been really looking forward to. I know I have. And there are some fights that are just very, very difficult to predict. And probably, perhaps the most difficult of all is Hamzah Sheeraz versus Austin Ammo Williams, which is the middleweight confrontation. Probably because these are two guys who really are, they couldn't be more different in every conceivable way. I mean, Sheeraz is a 25-year-old, undefeated in 15 KOs, 6'3", very tall for a middleweight, orthodox stance. He's been picked by Frank Warren as the team captain, and that didn't really surprise me. I'll tell you why, because Frank is an older fella, and I'm not as old as Frank, but I ain't going to see 50 again, put it that way. And I think when you see someone like Sheeraz, who does come across as being very mature beyond his years and very sort of well-adjusted, I mean, he's sort of 25 going on 35 in terms of mentality and temperament. I think that is quite attractive to an older person because they look back and they think, Christ, I wish I was that mature when I was that age, you know what I mean? So it doesn't surprise me that Frank gave the captaincy to Hamzah because he probably thinks he can handle it. He's a mature lad, he can handle it. Now, Sheeraz, like I say, 19 wins with 15 KOs, so he's got some pop, and he's huge for the weight in terms of dimensions. Earlier this year, in February, he got rid of, to me, for all intents and purposes, a shot Liam Williams. He did him in a round. Every time Williams was breathed upon, he rattled and wobbled, went on the floor. He just didn't look like he had a single thing left, Williams. And if you go back over Hamzah Sheeraz's young career, you're not going to find many distance fights. Now, the only one that pops out, really, is Bradley Skeet, who was stopped in 9 rounds. But there are extenuating circumstances to this. This was in 2021. It was Skeet's last fight, and it was for something called the WBO European Super Welterweight title. You know, whatever that is. There's only one European title, that's the EBU. But anyway, Skeet was basically outboxing and outworking and kind of old manning Hamzah Sheeraz. And then he got hit when he was on the floor. And in all honesty, to me, Sheeraz should have been disqualified in that fight. There's no doubt in my mind. Now, that was back end of 2021. If you look at all of Sheeraz's victories since then, apart from one, there were 2, I think, that lasted into the 5th round. The rest have been 1 and 2 round fights. So he hasn't been getting the rounds under his belt. And Sheeraz was actually on the floor against a guy called Torres. I think that was in the 3rd round. And it weren't a big knockdown. He wasn't on Queer Street or anything, but that was for the WBC silver middleweight title. I don't think this has got one of those alphabet soup trinkets on the line, this fight with Williams. But, young man, okay, that was back in 2022, so what was he, about 23? He's 23 years old, yeah, probably hasn't got his man strength, tall, thin, rangy guy. Yeah, he can go on the floor, and I wouldn't read too much into it. But there's no doubt that because all of his fights have been, well, most of them, since the Skeet fight, have finished, 1st round, 2nd round, a couple of 5th round dominations thrown in there. I don't like the fact that everything seems to be over quickly for him. I would be far more comfortable when I think about Sheeraz's chances if he'd done a couple of 10-rounders and maybe been dragged into a few deep-ish waters. You don't want to obviously throw the kid in too deep too quick, but at the same time you want to see him getting rounds. Now, as far as Austin Williams is concerned, he's a good height for a middleweight, 6 foot tall, but that's nothing compared to 6'3" Sheeraz. And he's a very, very different personality to Hamzah Sheeraz. Austin Williams, he's 28 years old, so he's 3 years older. He's from Houston, Texas. He's 16 wins with 11 KOs, no draws, no defeats. He's a southpaw. He's, shall we say, had his mental health issues in the past. He's had some problems in the past, which he says are now done and dusted, no problem. Good luck to the man. If he's come out the other side, that's fantastic. Mental health's a very real thing, and I don't wish that dark room, the black dog on anyone. It's a nasty place to be. But nevertheless, and I don't mean this disparagingly, he still comes across at times as being kind of a strange cat. You know what I mean? The black gloves and the shades and everything. Covered in tattoos, but then aren't they all? If you're under 30 and you ain't got tattoos these days, it seems like you're the odd person out. But anyway, but he's been speaking very, very confidently in the build-up to this, saying that he wants a spectacular knockout. And in one of the interviews he's given, he said he spoke to Hamzah, and Hamzah shared, Hamzah said, this is just a sport. And Ammo said, no, this is my soul. This is everything about it. This is what I am. It defines me. And that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself. That is a lot of pressure to put on yourself. And it does show that sort of, high-octane passion, that deep motivation, which can backfire if things aren't going your way, especially if you have shown in the past certain psychological, shall we say, quirks. All right. Now, again, I'm not being disparaging to Ammo at all. Quite the contrary. I think both these guys are terrific middleweights, and may the best man win. But if you look at Ammo's record, he's had one fight this year, which was back in February, which was against Armel Mbumba Yasser, and that ended in the 7th round. And I think Mbumba Yasser was on the floor a couple of times just before the stoppage. He also went the distance last year, September last year, with Steve Rolls, who's a solid guy. I know he got stopped quickly by Golovkin, and he's lost a couple since, but he's not a bad fighter. Before that was a 10-round unanimous decision. Before that, still in 2023, he had a little run around against River Wilson Bent. Now, River Wilson Bent is, I would say, he's English level, pushing British level maybe. And he actually looked pretty decent against Ammo for as long as it lasted. Ammo stopped him in 8. But if you actually compare and contrast, River Wilson Bent only lasted into the 2nd round against Hamzah Sheeraz. And that was in 2022. So he wasn't having a lot of luck against these guys, River Wilson Bent. But in the case of Ammo Williams, he did seem to sort of go through the motions in that fight. Now, he had a 10-round decision also against Kieran Conway. That was in 2022. So 2023 was the Wilson Bent fight. 2022 was the Kieran Conway fight. Again, going 10 rounds, there's nothing wrong with that. But again, Ammo was kind of not treading water. He did enough to win. But then if you go to the fight before that, he fought an undefeated guy called Cordell Booker, who was undefeated in 17, and he blew him out in a round. And Cordell Booker, in fact, hasn't lost since. I think he's done about 4 on the bounce since then. So that victory may well age very well. But it does show to me, if I look at his career, Ammo, he blows not hot and cold, but hot and lukewarmish. Sometimes he seems to sort of, maybe it's a lack of motivation. He turns up and He does enough to win, but he seems to need that challenge. Now, he's certainly most certainly got a challenge with Hamzah Sheeraz, and I think he knows it. When he said he's looking for a spectacular knockout, he wasn't belittling Sheeraz at all. He was saying, I rate Sheeraz very, very highly. Sheeraz, for the younger man, he maintained that sort of quiet dignity that we've become used to seeing in him. Comes across as very, very confident, very respectful. And it's not that Ammo doesn't come across as respectful. He just comes across as more fiery, more. There's more piss and wind to him. And this is a 12-round fight, even though, I don't think there's one of these alphabet soup trinkets on the line, but I think this is a 12-round fight. And I think that makes this fight even more fascinating. Because if it was a 10-rounder, you could say, well, Sheeraz with those dimensions, he can probably, nick a decision, or he can box quite conservatively, or Williams, who is probably less conventional than Sheeraz, less of a one-punch banger. He can probably use his skills to outpoint Sheeraz. I don't think either guy is going to go through this 36 minutes without questions being asked of them. Whether it's Sheeraz being taken in, way beyond what he's been before, which is, the 9 rounds against Skeet, but apart from that, 5 rounds a couple of times against far lower opposition. It seems to me that as the older man at 28, Williams has probably, at 6 foot, 160 pounds, he's probably got his man strength. He's probably at the point where there isn't going to be a lot of improvement as far as the physicality goes. Whereas Sheeraz at 6'3" and 160 pounds and 25 years old, I'm not convinced he's got the physical prowess to last for 36 minutes if he's in with someone who's physically, if not as strong as him, then almost as strong as him, who isn't intimidated by his dimensions, who isn't intimidated by the fact that he's a big lad. And I don't think Williams will be intimidated. Now, with Williams, because he does blow hot and lukewarm and has had some psychological issues in the past, there is that intangible, that little caveat that has to be noted, that how will he react if the going gets tough? This is what I mean by both guys are going to have questions asked of them. In the case of Sheeraz, it will be the length of the fight, the durability of Sheeraz. Can he hit that wall and get his second wind? Can Williams face adversity and come through it mentally? All of this stuff is relevant. Austin Williams, the southpaw, Sheeraz, the orthodox fighter. Will the southpaw stance give Sheeraz any problems? This is a really difficult fight to predict. Really difficult. Might be the most difficult one of the lot. But you know what? I'm going to go for Austin Williams to stop Hamzah Sheeraz very late in the fight, possibly the 11th round. And I think he'll have to come from behind, from quite a disparity in the cards, to do so. I can quite easily see it going the other way. I can quite easily see Sheeraz knocking out Williams. I really can. But I think the maturity, more rounds under the belt, the physical maturity, of Williams, southpaw stance might be to his favour. I have a hunch, and it's only a hunch, that I think Williams will win this fight, possibly by late stoppage in the 11th round. So what do you think? Let me know who you're picking and why you're picking them. how you think this fight will pan out. I think this is difficult to predict, but you tell me. Maybe you're thinking, no, so-and-so's got it. Tell me why. Tell me why you think that, all right? And of course, if you're new to this channel and you could subscribe, that'd be fantastic. You'd be helping us out a great deal. And also hit the like button. And like I say, I always appreciate your time. Leave your comments below. I'll have a read of them. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you've got to say. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you very much. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.